Hello again to all. Welcome to the Dietitian Against Diets podcast show. Again, my name is Rashonda Thornton, and I am your host. Before I get ready to introduce you to my next guest, I want to introduce you to one of my long-term podcast partners, Banner Road Baking Company. Now, I will tell you right now, I can never say enough positive things about their granola. I actually recommend their products to almost all my clients because I recognize the difference in between true granola that's full of real ingredients and has unique flavor combinations. I can be a food snob, but I say that because I truly care about what I eat and I only want the best and high quality. So companies like Banner Rose fits perfectly in that category. And personally, I know the chef Ann Croy, so I never question the quality and nutritional value of her goods. If you want to learn more about them, go to their website at bannerrose.com, and you can also go there and shop and purchase some of their products. Also, if you be surprised, if you go to their website, and you may find that their products are in your coast location. You'll find they have a store locator where you will be able to find products that may be in your closest grocery store. So find them also on Instagram, learn more about their company, and buy some of their granola. Well, hello and welcome to another fun episode of the Dietitian Against Diets podcast show. And of course, as you know, my name is Rashonda Thornton, and I want to introduce you to one of my favorite guests. We've been knowing each other for, I would say, at least 3 years, but so much we have done just separately and together on both our work. And I just excited to have Molly on today. So before I let her have the mic, I want to give you a little introduction of who she is, and then that'll naturally create the conversations what we're looking for. So Molly is the co-founder of Girls Gone Strong, which is a health and wellness academy dedicated to improving coaching practices for women, centered around improving women's physical and emotional strength while building their confidence. Along with that and several other accolades, she also has recently released her much anticipated book called Strong Women Lift Each Other Up. I love the title, which acts as a byproduct of her work with Girls Gone Strong movement. So with over 17 years of experience, Molly has been able to compound all of the things for herself personally, and also how she can create these steps to help women build women up. She is all about helping women and to feel strong, confident, and empowering them in their own lives and in their bodies. So Molly, I hope that was a grandiose introduction, but it's so much that you do. So I just want to first of all say thank you for coming on today for the podcast show.
Thank you, Rashonda. It is such an honor to be on here. I know that our perspectives and views and the way in which we want to help other women, like I said, feel strong, confident, and empowered in their lives and bodies aligns. And I appreciate your work, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yes. And so much here, and it's one thing that I always say, people with similar energies or similar just missions, they find a way to just gravitate around each other. And we've been connecting so many different ways by different people. It's almost kind of scary, But again, to me, it just resonates how strong it is those connections can be when you have people that are like-minded, and we just find ways to keep locking arms,
Yes, I love that.
Yes, and so you are a part of Girls Gone Strong, and I know a lot of people may or may not have heard of it, but I really want to just really talk to you about let's open up talking about how Girls Gone Strong has really made an impact on you personally, and how you have really just taken it on and just create so many more things from that organization.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. So like you said, I've got 17 years of experience in health and fitness, and my background is I'm a certified strength and conditioning coach, but I really consider myself to be a coach who helps women get from where they are now to where they want to be in their lives. And I've done a little bit of everything. So I've coached clients online and in person. I had a brick and mortar gym in Lexington, Kentucky for several years. Once Girls Gone Strong, I had a seminar business teaching health and fitness professionals how to coach women, and then eventually started Girls Gone Strong in 2011. And once that really started taking off around 2014, I sold my brick and mortar gym to my then business partner and went full-time Girls Gone Strong, and have done that since 2014. And it's kind of hard to imagine now with how popular strength training is for women, but even just 10 years ago, there were so few women in the weight room, and so much of the information geared towards women was all about shrinking, getting smaller, flatten your tummy, tone your thighs, all that kind of stuff. And so we wanted Girls Gone Strong we wanted to essentially preach the gospel of strength training to women because it had changed our lives so much. And so what started as a simple, Facebook page and website geared towards women in strength training over the last 10 years has evolved into the world's largest platform, providing evidence-based, interdisciplinary, women-specific health, fitness, nutrition, and pregnancy information for both women and the professionals who work with them.
And it seemed like you found an untapped niche because, you just what you said, women that are in the gym, a lot of women are intimidated to go in the gym because most of the time it's more centered around males as far as just the feeling and just when you go in there, everything is iron. And so it can be intimidating. Then women are taught to, not to look stronger, not to be stronger. You want to be smaller. And I really like that you guys have just really carved a new space that allows women to know you should want to be strong, but strength not necessarily is about your physical strength too. And that's one thing that you mentioned about this multidisciplinary factors that you guys consider. It's not just centered around women's physical health, but you guys encapsulate all different things that connects to women's overall health issues. You mentioned a few things about looking at the bigger picture, sexism, racism, ableism. It's so many circling components to women and our health issues. And it's not just about strength, but it's how are you guys encapsulating all of that into your programming? And you called it a movement too. I love that you called it a movement.
Yes. It has become that. Over the last several years, we have over 1 million women across all of our platforms. And like you said, we started out with just being really interested in talking about strength training, cardio, nutrition. And as I kind of went through my own personal evolution and realizing helping women is about so much more than this. So around 2013, I was like, well, we need to start talking about body image and mental health and women's relationships with their bodies. And then 2015, it was we need to talk more about autonomy and women having agency and the ability to make decisions for themselves. And then a couple of years later, it was we see how social justice ties into all of this and how, certain women's bodies are put on a pedestal and other women don't see themselves represented or don't feel like fitness and health is accessible to them, or it's not accessible to them, or certain foods aren't accessible to them. And so we realized where the intersection of health and social justice, kind of happened. So we wanted to not only make our information accessible to women, but we wanted to do it through an inclusive intersectional lens. So all of the curriculum that we create at Girls Gone Strong is created by a global team of women from a variety of disciplines, ages, body shapes and sizes, races, backgrounds, ethnicities, to make sure that the content we provide is intersectional, inclusive, globally relevant, and really helpful and helps health and fitness professionals and women understand the big picture of health and fitness. It's about so much more than just squats and protein, right? That's part of it, but there's so much more to women's health and fitness than just those topics.
I love it. Squats and protein, basically exercise and nutrition. It's way more than just, it's so many other things that, I think too, you think about the industry, we don't center, there is not a language or a communication stream to women to help them look at all of this when it comes to their fitness. It's only taught to just eat healthy and go to the gym. Forget everything else, but eat healthy and go to the gym. And I know with your certification programs, you actually have programming where you have certification for women coach specialists, and you're also incorporating these other things that us women go through as far as pre and postnatal specialists as well. So speak upon that and how you feel that those coaching styles is really going to help those coaches better coach those women, not just physically, but also the other components as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what a lot of people don't realize when they go through, get an undergrad degree in biomechanics, or they take kind of a general certified personal training certification, they're not realizing that there's so much of that information is based on young white males, and that there's so much more to women's experiences than just what's covered in those. And so we cover coaching, psychology, female anatomy and physiology, exercise, rest, recovery, nutrition, programming, And we cover it from a really holistic perspective because there's so much more, again, than just the anatomical and physiological changes that women go through. There's so much of the psychological piece is so important. Again, as coaches, we're people who help. We are supposed to help our clients get from where they are to where they want to be, and it's about so much more than just calories in and calories out, or making sure that they're getting their workout. And there's so much more to it. And so we identified this massive gap in the industry that no one had brought together all of these other experts to provide this women-specific information all in one place. So we've got 2 certifications, one that covers coaching women across their lifespan and talks about everything from body image struggles, pelvic health, menopause, menstrual cycle, disordered eating within a coach's scope of practice, how they can identify someone who might be engaging those behaviors, refer them to someone like you, to a registered dietitian or a licensed mental health professional. So that one is all women across their lifespan. And then the pre and postnatal coaching certification is all of those things specific to the pre and postnatal period. So when we're covering female anatomy and physiology, it's how does it change during and after pregnancy. And so the goal was to equip health and fitness professionals to feel confident and prepared to help their female clients no matter what they come to them with. So if they're doing squats and they start, they run to the bathroom every couple of minutes, or they say that they're, maybe leaking urine during exercise, or if they're going through menopause and, they're having hot flashes during the workout and they need to rest a little bit more, or, they have some other body image struggle that they're going through that, they're, no matter what kind of results they get in the gym, they have unrealistic expectations of what their body should look like, or they're comparing themselves to Instagram models, right? Like, these are real life situations that coaches feel like, I have no idea what to do. So that's why they take our certification. That's the gap that we fill, is we help women get the coaching and care they deserve. And we equip health and fitness professionals with the knowledge, skills, and tools to be that coach or trainer for women.
And that is so, so, so valuable, because I'm sure, most coaches are women. Are as a high percentage of women that are getting trained, and especially think about small groups and just women don't understand, as far as the women clients, how valuable it is for their coaches to really, really understand their body and be able to be more sympathetic, empathize more. Because the things you were saying, as a woman, I'm like, yes. As you age, your body changes. When you exercise, your body changes. And to have confidence in knowing that this coach recognize your body physiologically, understanding the underlying things that's happening with you, you're able to communicate with them. I think it's just gold. So I'm glad that you guys have really found those areas where you can better help coaches better coach women. To me, it's just, again, another way you're celebrating women's health and recognizing who they are. So that's really great.
Thank you. Well, and I want to touch really quickly on the psychological side of things too, as well. For example, like if you have a female client that you're working with and she, stops working with you, like there are so many reasons. Like she might talk about, what's her schedule, or she doesn't have the money, right? But it might be that she feels guilty taking the time away from her family because she doesn't feel like she's worthy of her own care. It might be that she's so bogged down with, all of the labor that comes along that's so often shouldered by women, right? Caring for their children, caring for elderly parents, doing the unpaid domestic labor around the house, the cooking, the cleaning, the grocery shopping, the remembering everybody's birthdays, and she just can't stay on top of everything. Like, particularly in this global pandemic, we know that women have taken on so much of the brunt of all of the extra labor that's associated with, having kids at home, or, having parents that aren't well, that need help, things like that. So there's just like, we don't just hit on the physiological and anatomical, but we dive deep into those psychological and like coaching issues that can be roadblocks from women achieving their goals. And we really believe that when women feel strong, confident, and empowered in their lives and bodies, that we can change the world. Fitness just happens to be the vessel through which we carry out that mission.
You just said, he couldn't have said it any more better. It's so clear that you basically, fitness, you're using your program as a vehicle to help women to recognize their strength, be confident in their strength, and just spread it, and now spread it to others. I think that's, again, so valuable. When you mentioned, I have to throw it in, and you mentioned to be a vessel to help women. Like, obviously, my company is Better Vessel Nutrition, and I do the same thing. I use nutrition to help people to, the tools that you learn through coaching whether it's coaching them through nutrition or physical fitness, like especially when you're going deeper, it allows these individuals to build their toolbox of what works for them. Because it doesn't feel so good to like go in the gym and leave the gym feeling confident and feeling free, just feeling like you're moving towards your goals and you're doing it the appropriate way. You're doing it through loving yourself. You're honoring yourself. I mean, to me, it's just the most wonderful feeling. It seems like you guys are creating that, I want to say, ambiance, or you're creating that mindset for those individuals in lieu of coaching them physically. So that's great. Now, you love Girls Gone Strong, and you're pretty much the face of Girls Gone Strong, which is invaluable because you are so open to being vulnerable and keeping it real. I love it. When I watch your Instagram feeds, I hear your stories, your book, everything is like so transparent. And, you don't really see a lot of women in high places that are just say, here's my life. And when you're able to do that, though, you're showing them your life so that they can connect with that, because so many women go through the things you go through, the things I go through. We may not be bold enough to say it, but when you are able to open your heart up, I really feel like that creates a connection to those readers and those listeners to where they know you're a real person, and the things that you're working through to be stronger is what you're gifting them. So with your book called Strong Women Lift Each Other's Up, we know it's a lot of it are essences from Girls Gone Strong. Let's start talking about that, because I know when you just even decide to write a book, it's a humongous task. I mean, your heart is in it. You want to do it, but like when you actually start doing it, you realize all the work that it takes. So as you were writing your book, let's talk about that experience. Like, what were you feeling when you was writing the book, and like the feeling that you knew you were gonna make change to people's lives? Like, kind of tell us like what was going on real time, if you can kind of reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah, I would love to. So I want to get to that. I want to circle back to like kind of why I decided to write it, which will lead into how I felt when I was writing it. So within all the work that we do at Girls Gone Strong, helping women with their health, fitness, nutrition, exercise, pre and postnatal wellness, I started to notice two really big themes within working with these women. Having so many women that we work with, we're able to glean really powerful insight into what women are struggling with, what they want. And I noticed that a lot of women were struggling with feeling like they weren't good enough, with feeling like they weren't pretty enough, lean enough, thin enough, successful enough, not a good enough parent, not doing enough in the world, not doing enough to help other people. So there was these women feeling like they were comparing themselves, they were feeling jealous of other women, they were feeling like other women were their competition. And then at the same time, they were also wanting to do something. They were wanting their life and their work to matter. They were wanting to have more meaning and purpose. They were wanting to show up and create change in their lives and in the world, especially sociopolitically. They were watching things on the news and saying, this is an atrocity, I want to do something, right? But there were a couple things getting in the way. Number one, they didn't know what to do, so they didn't know how to help. Number two, they felt like they were just one person and that their, what they could do wouldn't matter, right? Like a $20 donation to this thing, right? Like that stuff doesn't matter. And number three, they were either being criticized or afraid of being criticized for what they're doing or not doing. And we saw this, so much this summer as this long overdue, racial justice movement was like at the forefront of everyone's attention. And they were like, okay, well, I'm told I'm supposed to read this thing. And so they're posting that they're reading this book. And someone's like, you're just reading a book? Like, that's not helping anyone. Or, and they're like, oh, well, I'm doing this too, And so they were feeling like they were being criticized, or they were afraid of being criticized for what they're doing or not doing. And so they were wanting to help, but they had all these kind of roadblocks in the way. And at the same time, they were still struggling with this comparison, jealousy, competition, that in order to create the kind of change that needs to be created in the world, we have to work together, but they were too busy feeling like they were comparing and competing to do it. So as women, when we look around and we see that only 27% of US Congress is women, that only 7% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women, that only 11% of heads of government globally are women, that less than 3% of venture capital funding goes to companies wholly founded by women,
wow,
and that all of those numbers are worse for Black women, Indigenous women, women of color, right? Women with disabilities, LGBTQIA women. So when we go to a conference and we see out of all the speakers, there's one woman, right? So we look around and we see that there's a systemic lack of opportunity for women. And so we feel like we have to compete with each other for scraps instead of demanding more for ourselves and each other. So if there's a health and fitness conference and there's 10 people speaking and we think there's only one spot for women, I would feel less likely to recommend you, Rashonda, because I want that spot, right? Instead of saying, hey, it doesn't have to be this way. We can create our own thing where women can be equitably represented in important places where decisions are made. And so, but we have to work together to get there. So if we're so busy comparing and competing and saying, well, we can't both have this success, right? So it's me or you, then we never get to the place where we work together to create the change.
And I don't even think women realize that. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of created in a way to where what's the saying? Women are always catty. Ever since we were high school, you just grow up in this catty world. So when you go into your professionals, then it's the same thing is happening. You didn't realize it. And then that's what a problem is. So I totally get what you're saying. When there's lack of opportunities, you're going to feel like you have to do something more, work extra hard to overcome that, when it's actually just about how can we expand the platform so that we all can be on there and share.
Exactly. So how can we work together to build a bigger table so that we all have a seat? Because those are false social constructs. It doesn't actually have to be that way. There doesn't have to only be one or two female speakers at an event with 8 or 9 men speaking. But when we accept that as normal, right? Then that's when we're like, oh, well, that's how it is. And so I have to compete with my sisters instead of saying, hey, we're going to do something different. And that was a big part of what Girls Gone Strong was about as well. When we started, most of the mainstream health, fitness magazines, websites, things like that were all run by men. So we could fight with each other to be the 1 or 2 women who were published on that website, or we could say, hey, we're going to go do our own thing.
Exactly.
And create more opportunities of information by women, for women, from women, about women. And so that's so much of what we've chosen to do. So I feel like this book, the first half of the book, is dedicated to helping women overcome what I call scarcity mindset and the comparison trap. So feeling like they're not good enough, feeling like there's not enough for them, like they don't measure up. Women, it's everything from I don't feel comfortable in my body to I'm afraid to take a day off work because I'm afraid someone else is going to get ahead of me, or I'm afraid to say no to this opportunity because what if, I don't get this chance again, right? Feeling like they have to hustle for their worth. And so it's that to, scrolling on social media, feeling in our prettier, fitter, leaner, thinner, things like that. And so and like other women are a competition. So we have the books about helping women overcome those, and then discovering what their true values are, teaching them how to overcome self-doubt, teaching them how to believe in other women, because if we're going to want to be strong women who lift each other up and we want to support and collaborate with each other, we have to overcome our doubts about other women. So 59 to 66%, only 59 to 66% of women would feel comfortable having a female CEO of a company or a female president of the United States. So it's not even just, other people holding us back, we're holding ourselves back. Yeah, we're holding ourselves back by our doubt that we have of ourselves and women. So it's like, how do we overcome doubting other women to believe that we're actually better together? And then the last half of the book is all about what are the actionable steps that you can take in your life right now to start lifting other women up and creating change in your life and change in the world. So as I was writing the book, Rashonda, I have just been filled with electricity and passion. I believe so deeply in our ability to create change if we're given the tools and knowledge to do so.
And with that, as I was reading through your book, I see the main objective of your book is, first of all, what does it take to uplift yourself and then others? And so it always starts with self first. And you even start off, I think it was chapter 2, the foundational principles of lifting women up. And so you had several ones. I actually have my favorite one, but I want to ask you, you have with all different principles, which one you feel is the number 1 or 2 that's needed that women needs to incorporate into their lives to just even start the pathway to uplift themselves first?
Yes, absolutely. So within the book, I talk about how there's not a right way to lift women up, that we're all going to be doing it differently based on our lived experiences and our identity and what we're passionate about and our skills. But there are some principles that apply to everyone. And the first is that you are worthy of your own care. And it's
Hmm.
really popular for people to say, like, oh, put on your oxygen mask first before assisting others. Like, take care of yourself so that you can, it makes you a better mom, makes you a better partner. And it's like that is absolutely
So
true.
true.
And I want women to begin to believe that they are worthy of their own care because they're a human with inherent worth. That it doesn't have to be about their relationship to someone else. Because so many women, our identity is so tied to,
Hmm.
are we
Others.
married? Do we have children? Yeah,
Hmm.
like, are we the best daughter, right? So to say, like, no, you are a human being worthy of your own care outside of your relationship to anyone else. And then number two is embrace small and simple, because the core of what we do at Girls Gone Strong is behavior change. How do we get people to take the actions that build the habits that
Hmm.
allow them to accumulate the skills to create the type of change that they want to make in their lives and in the world, and to become the type of person that they want to be, right? And it all
Yes.
starts with these really small actions. And I wanted people to know lifting women up is accessible to you right now, no matter if you have very little time, money, influence, platform, resources. You can do things in your life right now that take 1 to 2 minutes that can lift other women up and create a powerful ripple effect
Hmm.
that is impossible to measure, because you never know how it's going to carry on. So later in the book, I share bigger things that they can do, but it was really important to me to say, hey, these small, simple things that you can start incorporating in your life today are the building blocks and the foundation of what it's going to take to become a strong woman who lifts other women up.
And I love that you said and took some time in talking about it, because when you were talking about just embracing yourself and loving putting yourself first, that's something I always tell people. Like, we know that we're supposed to be first so we can be better for others, but like I think as far as you're intelligent wise, that, but when it comes to actually doing it, I always say put yourself first and be okay with it, because we have to learn to be okay with putting ourselves first. And once you realize putting yourself first doesn't mean pushing someone else to the side or pushing them in the back. It's about carving out time to do things that you enjoy, that represents you, that reflects your love for yourself. And that doesn't take away from anyone. It only implodes and grows within you. So it's really important that you use that as one of the foundational principles, because we can aimlessly go through these different steps, but if we haven't really recognized how it feels and to create the manifestation of putting ourselves first, it will be always the thing that holds us back or stops us from really truly seeing what we can be. One of my favorite ones, those were the two top ones that I like as well. But one that I like was, you talked about getting curious, and like the negative talk. We all know about the negative self-talk, the I can't, I know this, but I'm not doing it, or even just defensive. Like it's such a psychological component to it, because I don't even think we realize, how we're talking to ourselves and how it reflects in our actions, or even now, thinking about how you're talking to yourself. But guess what? Now it's easy for you to look at someone else and to criticize them because you don't feel good within yourselves. So when we're talking about uplifting women, we have to first get this together, which is totally fine, because that will allow us to naturally to want, kind of like you, like for me, I love empowering women. I love helping them to love themselves and know they're good enough. And it's only because, guess what? I've practiced it myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that tool of curiosity is so powerful, because it allows us to get introspective. It allows us to, if we're having a challenging situation, to create a little bit of space between us and that situation so that we can respond instead of react. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's as I was, people were reading through the book, I had a feeling that they were going to be having these thoughts, right? Well, I can't do this, or this won't work for me, or I already know this is boring. Like, we've actually had a number of women who haven't read the book, but who have seen the title, and they're like, well, I don't need this book because I already know how to do this, but I'm going to buy it anyway just to support you, right? So they feel like they already know all the things in there. And that's one of the really powerful things that we talk about or teach in our coaching program is like, can you take a second and ask yourself, like, okay, so I know this, but am I doing this? And if I am doing this, is there a way that I could do it, or would it be useful to do it a little bit more or a little bit better, right? And so, like, is there a way that I could just turn that dial up on this just a little bit, just a little bit more? And so I love the idea of curiosity because it lowers our defensiveness, allows us to get introspective, creates a little bit of space, and then allows us to be really honest with ourselves to say, like, there's a lot of things that I know, even as a coach, that I don't do on an absolutely regular basis. Like, I don't meditate as much as I could. I don't always get in bed as early as I could, right? I know that those things are important, but I don't always do them. And so if I choose to make those a priority, because I think that they're going to help me, reach a certain goal or improve some aspect of my life, then it would be easy for me to be like, I know I'm supposed to meditate. I know I'm supposed to get in bed at this hour. But if I say, okay, but how well am I doing this thing? Then I'd have to get honest with myself and say, like, well, I'm not really doing it as much as I should. So that doesn't make it less valuable. So I think it's really important for, like you said, to kind of have that, use that curiosity piece to say, like, what can I learn here? What can I implement? And, like, what maybe do I already know, but I'm not necessarily doing?
Implementing, because we know a lot, right? But it doesn't matter if you know it if you haven't executed it in so many areas of our lives. I do want to talk a little bit about second half of your book is about uplifting other women, and you actually, apply like steps on how to make that happen, because everyone has their own way of uplifting women. But if you have never been in that space, you really don't even know what that looks like for you, or to feel like you're doing it naturally, right? You can tell when someone's kind of just saying things just to say the right things, or when someone is really coming from their heart. So you, in your book, you're providing these ways to help women to, think a moment before you respond. Think of it this way and that way before you respond. And I think that's very powerful, because we as people, we naturally criticize someone. That's like the first thing you think of, looking for what's wrong or what they're not doing right, instead of just naturally saying, you know what, I'm just really, really proud of you for what you're doing. So talk a little bit of how you have used your book to help women know how to, like, build that natural perception of how to uplift other women.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like, we're at this time when people are like, the future is female and this girl can, and, like, people are really excited about the idea of women's empowerment, but maybe don't know what the tangible, actionable steps that they can take to lift up other women are. And like you said, for so many of us, our natural tendency is to compare, to compete, to judge, to criticize. And so often that comes from a place of not being comfortable or secure within ourselves. So that's why the whole first half of the book is about getting right with yourself, so that you actually become a woman who genuinely gets joy from lifting other women up, because you feel so good in yourself. And so that's why the first half of the book is all about that. And then the second half is tangible, actionable ways that you can lift women up in your everyday life. Because I wanted women to have an arsenal, like a literal toolkit of things that they can do and use to lift other women up. And again, they range from things that take 30 seconds to a minute that you can do in your life right now, all the way up to big things like mentoring women and sharing insider knowledge with them, and donating and investing in their businesses and things like that, right? I wanted to provide essentially a menu of things that women could do for other women, and even in their own lives. There are powerful stories in chapter 8 all about using your voice. And it's stories of women who shared their own stories with the world, and how that just by them sharing their own stories, they were able to create massive ripple effects within the health and fitness industry, within the fashion industry. And so I thought there was an example of one of our mutual friends and colleagues, Dr. Krista Scott Dixon. When I asked her to be involved in a Girls Gone Strong project many years ago, she said no, but she said no in such a way that I walked away feeling really uplifted and really cared for and just appreciated. And she actually gave me, with her reply back, a template that I could use to turn around and say no to other people in a way that would make them feel really good. And there's a bonus to it, right? When I say no to something, and actually you and I had this this exact thing happened with us when there was, I think, a panel you asked me to be part of, and I said, hey, I can't, but are you looking for recommendations of other people? And I was able to recommend other women.
Yes.
So I was able to protect my time and energy in the moment, to preserve and even deepen my relationship with you, because I was able to say no in a way that was really kind and authentic. And then I was able to lift up another woman by recommending her to you. And then you got the opportunity to meet another awesome woman in our industry and develop a relationship. So just by saying no in our own lives to protect our own peace, we're able to lift like 3 or 4 women up in that process.
Yes. And that's just such a, that's another thing again. No one would have, as an appropriate way to decline something, but how can you take it a little bit deeper? How can you use your position and your influence and your network to still fulfill that need that your sister is looking for? And again, as women, how we find ways to, no matter what, still helping each other, And it could be, I can help you. It may be another time that's more appropriate. But in the meantime, hey, I got this great set of women here that can provide the same thing, if not even better. I just think that, and using Dr. Krista Scott, she's awesome, man. She's super awesome. I'm glad you used it as an example, because she is a prime example of how that's what she does, especially in the women's space. And I love, again, like you did have, as people, when you start getting Molly's book, she does have a lot of stories in there that is real stories of powerful women and what they've done. And for me, myself, I like reading real stories because that's inspiring for me. That helps me see that they did it. Guess what? I can do it. And so a lot of your work in your book really allows women to see if this person can do it, along with understanding how they can help themselves personally. If you can do it, then I can help others. And I think, to me, that's where the movement, it's all coming full circle now. It's a part of the movement. It's going to help move the movement. So I'm glad you provide applicable steps to empower these women, not just saying be empowered, but here are ways, not just for yourself, but for others. And that's no better gift that anyone can give. So I really appreciate you even just carving out this time to just talk about, this piece of art that you have created, because it's coming right in the nick of time. It's coming right in the nick of time. And so as we're getting ready to close, unfortunately, I want people to have every opportunity to find out more about Girls Gone Strong, more about ways they can reach you, and more about ways they can take this book. Because when just so you know, when you do grab Molly's book, she didn't just leave with just the language in the first chapters. As you go to the back, she has references and resources, and you guys can download things. I mean, she's giving you an abundance of information and giving you resources and ways that you can do it. So just know it's more than just reading one page to the other. It's how can you use this to help? How can you use it that's going to better suffice you as a person, but also to help suffice other women. So Molly, it's an amazing. I love it. I love reading. I was smiling the whole time. But yeah, let us know how we can. Let me stop yapping. how individual can learn about Girls Gone Strong and you as well.
Thank you so much for all those kind words. Yeah, it was really important to me. I've read a lot of books, and at the end, I feel inspired and excited, and I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do next, And so I did not want this book to be that. I wanted people to have actionable steps that they could implement into their life immediately, right away. So like you said, there's steps all throughout the book, and there's bonus downloads that people can get access to. So the best way to find the book is it's called Strong Women Lift Each Other Up. And if you go to mollygalbraith.com/book, you can find all of the different retailers. So Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, Audible. It's 30% off on Target and Amazon, 46% off on Kindle. And then there's international editions as well for
Great.
Canada, UK, Germany, Australia, New Zealand. And hopefully, as it keeps selling, we'll get even more international editions, because I want this in the hands of as many people as possible.
Yes.
And to find me and Girls Gone Strong, if you go to girlsgonestrong.com, on that homepage, there's articles, free courses, links to our certifications, all of that kind of stuff, which I am so happy and proud to say that you have been involved in. So we're super grateful to have you doing that. And then if you go on Instagram, we're at the Molly Gailbraith and the Girls Gone Strong.
It's pretty much, if you look up Molly, you'll find all that information. She is a very influential woman that has ability to show her vulnerability, but through that vulnerability is so much strength. So follow her, learn more about the organization. How can you as a woman be a part of this movement and bring other women on board? So Molly, again, without, due process, I do appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this podcast show. I hopefully, again, we'll fast forward this a year later and we'll have to do a updated version of it for sure.
Yes, I love that, Rashonda. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for always being so supportive of me and for all the important work that you do, because that's how it happens, right? We create this type of change together. And so thank you for creating your own important ripple effects in the industry and lifting women up along the way.
Well, thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's be a part of this movement. As Molly said, how can we help women feel strong, confident, and empowered in their lives and in their bodies? So stay tuned. I want you guys to grab her book. I want you guys to be a part of the movement. Send some comments. Let us know what you thought about it. Send it to Molly. Let her know how you felt reading that book and how you can use this book to help other women. So again, guys, thank you again for the Dietitian Against Diets. Remember, it's not about the diet. It's the diet mentality of feeling structured, feeling that we need to live in a cage and that we need to live without. Let's flip the script on that and learn that living a healthy life is about living a life of freedom, living a life of confidence, and living a life that we were meant to live. So be well, and I will see you guys next time. Well, thank you again for taking the opportunity to listen to the podcast show. I'm really hoping that the stories that you're hearing that are resonating to yourself. And if they are, feel free to share it to others by sharing it via YouTube, sharing it via Facebook, or sharing it via Instagram. And also I want to do a quick shout out to one of my podcast partners. You may have seen their logo before. You may have heard of them before, but they're called Undeniably Dairy. Undeniably Dairy. Let me make sure I say that correctly, which is really centered around educating about dairy sustainability practices and their undeniably good tasting dairy products. Now, it's really important to know the path of farm to table when it comes to dairy products. And this platform, Undeniably Dairy, allows that to be a hub that brings farmers and consumers together. So many of us, don't understand the hard work that are done every day by dairy farmers. And also many of us may not even know how much heart is put behind the animal care. Now, I remember I've gone to a couple of farms myself, but one farmer told me, and I will never forget, he said, happy, healthy cow always produces the highest quality of milk. So that makes sense to me why animal care is so important and why it's top priority. If you're curious about getting to know where your dairy products come from, and also the real work done and seeing the things behind the scenes, go to usdairy.com and learn of the stories, learn of the processing, and learn all the sustainability practices that Undeniably Dairy is doing for our consumers and for our earth. Take care, guys, and I will see you next week.